And let's see what happens here. So it looks like it's going to YouTube. There we go. Okay. All right. And we'll see what happens when this, hopefully it comes online here. Because this is going to be kind of cool if it works. All right, so there we go. All right, so you see me. Now, I am streaming to you. Let's see if it's able to keep up. That's the big question. I am streaming to you on a, this is kind of cool, on a Amazon cloud server. So I will show you, I am actually running, let me do hang on. Sorry, everybody. So what I'm going to be doing here, just to start up over again, this is running inside of Amazon's S3 cloud. So this server with an NVIDIA GPU and a quad-core CPU costs about 71 cents per hour to run, and then a little bit for data transfer, but not a lot. And so what I'm doing right now is I am calling into it from my laptop here on the desk. But what you're seeing on your screen here is Vmix running inside of this Amazon cloud server. And what I'm doing on my computer locally here is trying to figure out how to get my output from my server, my Vmix here to there. So I'm configuring this right now. And so I think when I enable, let's see what happens here. When I enable my external outputs, SRT enabled. Okay, so I think if I turn this on, oh, it's already going. You got it already. Look at that. Okay, so here, watch this. I'm going to hit this. And I'm just watching this on my end. So I'll cut that over. And now you can all see me. And this actually looks pretty good, I think. So what I'm doing is I am streaming from here, from my house, to this Amazon server, and that server is in turn streaming out to over to YouTube. And I'm keeping a very close eye. Let me cut back here. I'm keeping a very close eye on the CPU utilization at the bottom there. So you can see, like, we are very close to hitting the maximum that this installation can support. But honestly, if I'm just transmitting video from here to there, it should be able to handle that. Oh, is echo with the audio? Yes. You know why? There we go. So now you're going to get the better audio, hopefully. And I'm not monitoring audio back, otherwise you'd be hearing an echo. So this is pretty cool. So let me cut back. And I'm just checking this out to see how this might work. And I'm just keeping, like I said, a very close eye on the CPU utilization. So I could run like the entire thing from here to there, and I could actually live switch on the Amazon server, but I don't want to stress it out too much because I'm paying for the cheap one. So this is a kind of a low-end Amazon server that has the NVIDIA GPU attached. And it, like I said, it cost me about 71 cents an hour. So I've spent about $1.50 last night setting it up. And then the kids are out of the house right now, so I figured I would try and see how this works. And I think it's okay. I'm going to move around a little bit here. I'm just checking the stream because what you're watching is coming directly out of my system. And so, for example here, like if I were to stop streaming, I would freeze, but you wouldn't lose the stream. So if I had like one of my glitches that hit from time to time, but hit all the time, you wouldn't see the problems that we usually have. So it looks like people say this looks pretty good. And then what's cool is that I've got all this bandwidth available to me up in the Amazon cloud. So all of the bandwidth issues that I have are null and void. You know, so I could send, actually I am sending a higher quality image up to Amazon right now than I usually do to send back to you. So yeah, so I think this is going to work. But the problem, though, is that this adds another layer of complexity. So now I'm monitoring my local machine and then the Amazon cloud server. And the one thing I'm concerned about on the Amazon cloud server is that it's using a lot more CPU than it should. So it's like 47% utilized. But let me kill my, here, I'll show you what I'm doing. Oops. So I have Vmix call going in with me. So if I knock this out, let's see what happens to the CPU usage. That's going to drop us down, I think, a bit. So right now we're at 75%. If I drop the call, we're down to 52. So that was using a lot. So that's more manageable. Because I was playing around with this also because I am in the process of potentially doing something for a client, and they want to have a lot of people calling in. And so I'm just trying to figure out the best way to make it work. And I think my levels are a little low, but it seems like it's working. Now, what could happen here is I could stop my external transmission. So I'm just going to kill it for a second. So watch what happens, okay? So I'm going to, let's simulate the glitch. Here's the glitch. Boom. So normally, that would sometimes drop my stream completely or start up a new one. But because I have the server running here, any glitch that I've got out to the server, that server is going to maintain the connection. So the Amazon server has a much more reliable connection out. And what I'm using is a protocol called SRT, which is it's pretty cool, actually. So what you can do with it, here, let me show you something else that's kind of neat. I don't know if it's what's going to happen when I do this here. Let me see. So I've got it on my, a little camera app on my phone. And my phone, let me see what happens if I try to send it in. Because right now I've already got my SRT on here. So if I So let me knock out. There we go. So now we've got my phone. So this is my phone coming in here. And so now my phone is transmitting to the same SRT channel. It looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to knock the phone off. I'm going to come back on the. We're back. See that? Very cool. So what's cool, let me switch back here. So what's cool about this SRT protocol is that it kind of works like NDI does on the network. So you could take out your phone. There's an app called Larix, and it's free, and it provides a camera. And so what you just saw was my Larix app broadcasting in. And it's a variable a bit rate protocol. So if your phones are out in the field and you're hitting bandwidth issues, it'll actually step down the bit rate. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, and yeah, so this is working. I've got to do some research into this because if you can follow my mouse pointer here, I'm doing one thing incorrectly, which is what everyone in Vmix world says is that you shouldn't run the remote desktop protocol RDP to get into your Amazon server. And I've tried a few different things, but I can't get into the Amazon server unless I'm logged in with RDP. So I gotta figure that part out. So that does add some CPU overhead. But if you look here, just the SRT going in and the screenshot here is using up about 30% of the CPU that I have available to me. And it shouldn't because we're running the NVIDIA GPU on that server. So we shouldn't see that much CPU utilization. Because I brought in 4 calls yesterday on a much less powerful machine locally, and I wasn't seeing that level of CPU utilization. So I've got to play around with that a little bit. So this is pretty neat. And let's see what else. I'm just looking at some of the chats here as we're coming through. So yeah, we're on EC2, not S3. You're right. Okay, so let me go back up to some of the chats here. So we had some no audio, which we fixed. And we had double audio, which we fixed. And I'm just kind of letting this run because I just want to see if it's going to stay up for a while. And then I want to play this back, play back the recording when I'm done and see how it all works. And yeah, so I think this could work because so what I've got going on here is I've got my entire Vmix machine running locally here, so I can do all the things that I usually do. And then just output, so like right now I'm just outputting program to you all. So I could do my camera switching like I usually do, and then we can do this. That didn't look good, did it? See, that would be a problem. Yep, that's a bit of an issue right there. So maybe this doesn't work so good. I got to maybe adjust the, so it has like these keyframe things that it does. So that switching, I think I have to increase the number of, I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do here, but there's a setting. Let me see if I can go and look at my external output settings here. Because you see how it settles down now? But that initial switch, when I do that, you're going to have, oh, see, now it's working. This may not be very reliable. I got to play around with this a little bit more and understand it better. See, oh, there it goes. Yeah. So we're getting that glitchiness there. And I think that's due to one of the compression settings here. So it's using straight up H.264 like it would if I was live streaming. But when you output, let me see what we've got here. So I think there's probably something related to the keyframes or something that is causing that. So I got to look into that. So Paptram says increase the latency on the SRT output. All right, so let's try that. So we're going to go over to the output settings here. Yeah, so I've got latency at 200, so maybe I'll bring that up to 400. And cycle me. Okay, so now let's see what happens here. So if I do the switch now, that seems to be better. Yeah, so I got to tweak this a little bit more to figure it out. So Matt Green's wondering, how would you get into the server besides RDP? One way I would do it, or I've low overhead thing there, so that might be one way to do it as well. Oh, sorry. You know what? I forgot to have the audio always follow. Hang on one second. Let me just do this. And now There we go. Okay. So now you should be hearing audio. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So one of the things that people are doing is running TeamViewer. So that might be one way to do it. But even then, like when I disconnect the RDP, you know, it logs you out and you got to log back in, and it's running like Windows Server. So there's probably some security setting I got to play around with. But it looks like, you know, from the standpoint of, you know, just dialing in here, it's fine with one, you know, with one thing coming in via SRT. So I don't think I could do everything I'm doing from home on the server, but I wouldn't need to normally. But I was inspired because there's a great Facebook group on Facebook called Streaming Idiots. And there's a guy in there that was running this huge esports production where he had, I think, 4 people calling in, and then he had 30 streams from around the world of these different people playing some esports thing on PlayStations, and they were using like Twitch streams, and he brought it all in and ran his whole big production with a huge number of viewers, all in the cloud. And he spun up a more powerful version of Vmix than a more powerful version of the AWS server. So what I did is I picked the lowest cost server with a GPU. And as I mentioned, this is 71 cents per hour plus whatever data that I'm transiting. But I don't think I'm transiting all that much data. So I've got, you know, obviously the data out for the RDP connection right now. I think inbound data, if I'm not mistaken, is free. So my transmission in, which is only 4 megabits per second at the moment. And then I'm charged on the data out, but I'm only streaming out at my usual bit rate. So I don't think it would be all that costly. And I've been looking at, and here's what I've been looking for. So I've been looking at like Restream.io and a couple of other of these aggregation services, and they do allow a backup server. So if I did have my connection go down, it could go to the other server, but I only have one connection. So it's not going to work for me because I can't do a backup when I only have one connection. So my next thought was, what if I could run the server in the cloud and then stream to it and have it stream out, which is what we're doing right now. And if we glitch, you know, it will freeze up for a minute. But generally when I glitch, it's not like my whole internet connection goes down. It's just for whatever reason, I lose enough that things just stop working. So I could easily jump over to the Amazon server, which is still going to work for me, and say, hey, we'll be right back, you know, and kind of go from there. So we'll have to see how much we do there. So I'll take a look after this is over with and see exactly how much data I send in and out from the server. But it shouldn't cost all that much. So in settings, audio uncheck automatically. Yeah, that's what I gotta fix that setting there. Yeah, Parsec is good, except that it's not running. I can't get it to stay up on the server here. So whenever I turn it on, it'll work for like 5 or 10 minutes, and it just disconnects me. And then if I don't have the RDP up, Parsec doesn't work at all. And I think it's because Parsec is not running as a service, maybe. So I'm not sure how that's going to come about. But Emery wants to know, is this really worth it to me? It's one of these things where I'm like, it's bothering me. So I don't know if this is going to be a solution that I'm going to spin up every time, because this is kind of a pain. So I got to go in and activate. So the way this Amazon stuff works is that you're metered for every hour that you use, and they think they bill you in 10-minute increments. So every hour that this server is up, it costs me 70 cents plus the data transfer out. So I got to spin it up. I got to log into it. I got to load up Vmix. I got to start the stream, and then I got to forward my data from here over there. But what happened yesterday? This is one of the things that's bugging me. So, my internet connection from a reliability standpoint, the bandwidth is there, but it's only about, I would say 80% of the time it doesn't work. Or it works, but the other 20% it doesn't. And when we have things like what happened yesterday, is it glitches out long enough that it dumps you all out, so we lose that stream. And then because I'm using YouTube Stream now, it spins up another session. So yesterday's stream had 3 different sessions. And then I'm also streaming over to Amazon. And what's happening there for some reason is that when it glitches long enough, it will go back and start streaming up again at Amazon, but it then erases the recording for like everything that had happened before. So if you pop into Amazon right now, it starts up like right in the middle of the stream. And so it's just driving me crazy. So I'm just trying to see how this might work. But what's cool though is that this is all running in the cloud. It's amazing, isn't it? It's like you can get a Windows computer in the cloud and it's got like a gigabit connection. I'm probably pushing my luck here, but let's just run a speed test, shall we? Let's pull that up real quick. So I'll just go to speed test. And this might start killing the stream because I'm pushing this machine to its limits here. So check this out. This is running from the Amazon server. And let's see what happens here. I'm sure everybody does this on there. So 1 millisecond ping, and I'm getting like gigabit. Isn't that nuts? That's down. So let's see what the up is on it. That's crazy. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so we're like a gigabit and a half or so up. So unlike my house where my upload is like much slower than the download. Isn't that nuts? So I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, although now that killed my stream quality there, so we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, so that's kind of what I was looking to play with today. So it does kind of work. Proof of concept. It does seem to work. And yes, this is more about continuity of the stream so that I wouldn't lose it. So I think, let's say that like I had, this will never happen, but let's say I had like some $1 million streaming opportunity. I would probably do this to keep it that way. So that's working pretty nicely. Now it's funny though, when I just did that, my stream quality, my stream health on YouTube went down. So we'll have to see what that is. Al Gardner wants to know, do I use the AWS Elemental Link device? I do not know what that is. So I'm going to look that up now. I have no device here. So what I'm doing, AWS Elemental Link device. But yeah, from what I'm hearing, by the way, on the thing, is a device that connects live video source. Oh, look at that. Configuration-free, cost-efficient way to securely and reliably transfer video to Media Live for delivery. Oh yeah, so that was the other thing I looked at today was I looked at using Media Live as a way to stream out to multiple sites, and I still might do that. But it looks like they have a piece of hardware. So this is the hardware. They have a piece of hardware that does that for you. That's pretty cool. About $1,000, small and portable, high video quality. Huh, I'll check that out. But so, yeah, so Amazon has a thing called Media Live. And I was playing with that at first this morning too, just to see if that might be something that could work. And so they do what like Restream.io and others do. And just like everything else on AWS, it's a metered service. So I was looking at that. What I wanted it to do, and it doesn't do this unfortunately, because they also allow for a backup. And I was excited initially because as I was setting up the stream on Media Live, there was an option to have the fallback be an MP4 file. So if I lost my connection into the output, into the ingest there, it could go over to the "we'll be right back" file or something, but it doesn't work like that. So your options are you can have another stream source coming in or you have nothing. So it didn't seem to work the way I was hoping it would. But I might play around with it because if I could, for example, right now what I'm doing normally is I'm streaming out to YouTube and Amazon at the same time. So if I could go into this Amazon Media Live thing,
with a single 2.5 megabit stream, and then have it go and transfer both of those to YouTube and Amazon, that might result in better reliability. So that's the other project for this weekend, is that. So and that one will probably cost less and have less aggravation, because I can still, so what I love about Vmix is that I can just go, here, I'll show you the button I push. I can just go to this button here and hit stream, and it'll start sending video out. So that's a lot more convenient than having to go boot up an Amazon AWS server and doing all this stuff. And then, of course, I have to buy another Vmix license to do all this as well. So, so that's that. Steve wants to know if I've looked into Wirecast. No, I mean, I know a lot of people that are using Wirecast, and I'll tell you, I just started using Vmix, and I really like what it's able to do. And what happened too is a lot of people I know are running it that are doing this for a living with some like really important stuff. And so a friend of mine is doing like a lot of work with streaming for broadcasters and stuff. He's like swearing by Vmix. So I have people that I can call on. So that's been part of the thing. And what's so cool though about Vmix is that it's Windows software. So if your hardware meets the requirements, you can run it. And so that gives you the ability. So before with the TriCaster, I could be in other parts of the house and stream out, but it was harder to control it because I'd have to run NDI and then figure out a way to get the control panel up to where I was. With Vmix, I can just take my laptop out and run it on there, right? So there's some real advantages. Greg M wants to know, do I always stream to both services? I wonder if the dual streams is what causes loss of connectivity. I think that's contributing to it, definitely. But even before I was doing both, because I do a lot more live streaming now than I'm doing the Amazon thing. But before, when I was just doing YouTube, I was still having these drop-offs too. It's just this service here stinks. What it is that, I talked about this on the wrap-up, is that Comcast's coax connections just are not good for reliable upstream, and they overload them, especially in areas where I live. So that's the rub there. But I am, hopefully, they say they're going to hook it up for me, my Gigabit Pro, and then I'll have 2 gig symmetrical fiber coming into the house. And then after that, I can host your stream. So, call me up. We got plenty of bandwidth. We'll just stream everybody out. Al says I should get Martin from Vmix. I should get Martin from Vmix on the show. They've got great tutorials on how the software works too. Because once you get the concept as to how all this stuff works, it's really a slick thing, super slick. And I've got all these different profiles set up, and it's been working great. I've been very happy with it. And my new computer's working very nicely too. It's pretty powerful. I got that computer we built a few weeks ago. So yeah, so it's working. Yeah, Soundman, exactly. So I think TriCaster is still the top of the line. And I have a TriCaster. It's what I bought back in 2014. And I think if Vmix was where it is now back then, I probably would have just gone with Vmix, because I was looking at, here's where I was at. My TriCaster is 6 years old. It still works, but it's been getting glitchier. And I think it might just be due to its age. I've wanted to get into 4K. And I needed something new, just because this thing's 6 years old, and if it dies, that was it, right? We have nothing else to produce the channel with. So I had to start looking at upgrading. And the new TriCaster Mini, which is the step up from the one that I have, is about $9,000. And I had some, I think I mentioned, I'm going to do a video on this. I had some issues with how the TriCaster's exporting works. And so I was really having some problems getting video over to edit, because they changed the codec with this recent update they just did. And now the codec doesn't work natively on the Mac, so you have to convert your video out. So I was like, okay, I'll do the ProRes video export. But that's been buggy. And when I started doing the exports to ProRes out of the TriCaster, it was chopping off like the last 3 seconds of audio on every clip that we were sending, or every other clip we were sending out. And it was really throwing a wrench in everything. And I couldn't get tech support to like fix it, and I don't even think it's fixed yet. So now like the TriCaster is on an older version of the software that still is running on the old codec, and I can't upgrade it because then I'll have the export issue. And I'm thinking, why would I spend $9,000 to have this problem? So I ended up looking at Vmix as an alternative. So what I did is I said, all right, so let's take out the laptop and let's see if I can do everything I normally do on the channel, but run it from the laptop for a week and see what happens. And then a week became a month, and it worked fine. Like I've had a couple of little glitches that I was able to figure out related to the speed of the drive I was writing to. And then, I was like, you know what? I think I can just build a computer, run Vmix on it, and let's just roll with it. And it's been, honestly, I've been so happy with it. And it saved, literally I saved probably about $5,000 or $6,000 at least. So I still have to buy, my Vmix trial is about to end, so I got to pay for the license. So it's $700 for the 4K license, which adds some additional features. I'm pretty happy with it. OBS is good. I don't want to take away from OBS. I think OBS is a really solid piece of open source software. I've had issues with OBS, because you're relying on all these open source plugins. Like I use a lot of NDI stuff. There was just some parts of it that I was seeing as I was playing with OBS, like one boot to the next wasn't always consistent. And I just wanted something that had some tech support behind it so I could call. And what's nice about Vmix is that all the things that I would have used a plugin for on OBS are all integrated. And the other thing that, and maybe I'm just not aware of how OBS is supposed to work, but the other thing that I like about Vmix is that it has the audio mixer here. Because OBS, you got to add, like, for every view that you do, you've got to re-add the audio, and it was getting really confusing and cumbersome. Like here, if I want to, add stuff, I can just go add input here, and the audio will carry over. So watch, I'll do a quick, and this is, again, we're doing this all on online here. So let's do a color, and then I'm going to log off in a second because we're almost to a half hour, so this is so far costing me about 45 cents. Or maybe a little bit more depending on what we're doing here. So we'll do a little multi-viewer here. So we'll say, let's grab this one and that one, and we'll zoom this down like that, put it over here, and then we'll grab my other overlay. I'll zoom that out a little bit. Oops. And I'll put it over here. There we go. This is like a real quick and dirty little multi deal here. And I can select this, and I can just watch this. This one's pretty cool. We can do a merge. See? And the audio is still working, right? So it's good. So yeah, it's working great. So again, I think sometimes, like, if you want something that's just going to work, you got to pay for it. And I'm sure Linus is having a good time using OBS for streaming. But so just so you all know, like, this is not just for streaming. This is for the full production. So my workflow since like 2012, when I first started doing this, is that I essentially record live to disk. So even my on-demand recorded videos are done like I'm live streaming. And that's been the key to my efficiency, because when I had a full-time job and this, I didn't want to spend a lot of time editing and putting stuff together. So Linus has, when they shoot a video, they're not running it through OBS. They're actually recording on SD cards from multiple cameras. He's got an editor. They take it and they edit everything together. For me, when I'm done, I've got most of it edited right when I'm ready to get to the Final Cut layer there. So it works. But yeah, I attempted to use OBS, and then it just isn't going to work for what I'm doing. And then when I was looking at, I could maybe do OBS instead of the TriCaster, right? I couldn't get that same functionality. Yet here I'll put this back up. Here it feels like more of a professional production switcher, and it doesn't quite follow the standard that that the TV industry has kind of worked in, but it does preview program. You can get control surfaces for it. It's got it's it's just been really solid and super stable. So those are the two things that has really been fun. Salman says, my work, my videos like Real TV used to work. And actually that's how I learned how to do video. So I started, and some of you may, if you go back, I'll find this video and re-air it one of these days. So when I was 13, I had a little cable show on the cable access channel. They had a little summer camp thing. You could go and learn how to do it. And I got into it. And we did live to tape productions. And you had somebody in the control room who was switching the camera views, and then if we had, so for example, if we had some clip to run from a prepackaged thing, we would edit the clip ahead of time, and then we would roll it into the live production as we were shooting it. And that's how all the stuff was done. And then I went to college, and that at the time I went to school, so I got to school in '94, so '94 to '98, that's how people were still doing stuff. So that's like the basis of, and hence all this old stuff around me. That was kind of the basis of my training. And I was not like a major in TV production, but I took enough classes to understand it. And then I was I was on the school news show. I was the weatherman. So, and I covered the 1996 presidential debate. I covered it when I came to Hartford for them too. That was a lot of fun. So. Yeah, so I think it's a much more efficient way to operate, because if you can load in all your cameras here, and if you here, I'll turn on another camera here. So as I'm doing my routine here, let me fire this one up. As I'm doing my routine here, I can just talk, and wait for my camera to come up live here, and I'll show you. There it is. So I can say, "Hey everybody, today we're taking a look at this thing here." Let me cut over here. Looking at this thing here, and then I can cut to camera 2. And here's the thingy. This is what the thingy does. And it ends up looking more natural, because I could say, hey, we're checking this out today, and then I can cut here, and you know what I mean? There's continuity. It's live, as I'm recording. And then when I'm done, I've got this clip now kind of doing its thing, right? And it works. So that's been kind of the gist of my workflow. And it works really, really well for me. So Salman says, as someone that's worked in the broadcast industry for 15 years, I'm doing TV the way that it's still done. Yeah, I think that's for the most part how it is done. Although right now, a lot of these TV people are becoming YouTubers, right? They're all like setting up, so all the news anchors. I know a lot of the news anchors in my area here, and they're all like working from home like I am now. It's kind of funny. It's really cool. All right. Yeah, I should definitely call Martin at Vmix and have him come in and talk about this stuff, because it's been good. I mean, their software has come a long way. And like I said, I've got friends that are working in broadcasts that are really digging the Vmix software now. And what's cool, let me show you one other thing with it, is just the amount of inputs that you can bring in. So if I go to add input here, you've got cameras, and I was even using the cam link from Elgato. I was using that just as a camera source, so that's working. On my production computer, my new one here, I'm running with a DeckLink 4X, which is a PCI Express card with 4 HDMI inputs, and they can bring in, it supports up to 60 hertz or 60 frames per second 4K. And that's been working great. I think I just saw a little glitch go on there. So that's been like super good. And then I can bring in, let me show you my other shot here. I could bring in NDI sources. Now you won't see any NDI sources right now because this is not running on my local network, but I have all these NDI sources that just pop up. So my PTZ camera shows up here. I've got all my NDI boxes, and then I could send desktop images from my gaming computer or the Mac or anything, just pops right in there. The SRT is what we're doing right now, which is basically an over the internet broadcast of stream from one device to another. They have instant replay features. They've got virtual sets now too. I haven't played with this on Vmix yet, but the TriCaster has a similar thing. So you can set up these virtual sets where you can make it look like you're standing in a newsroom. TriCaster still, I think, has the edge on virtual set design, but you can hire people to make you sets. And they also have the multi-box stuff, so if you have callers calling in, you can get, these are really quick and dirty, you can get started with these real quick, and then you can change the backgrounds and do whatever. They've got something where you can even bring in PowerPoint directly, which is pretty neat. I use Keynote, so that wouldn't work for me normally, but audio input, titles, it works with like Flash files. And the video call is super cool. I'm not going to set one up now, but you can set this up. So when I first started the stream today, I just was calling in with Vmix Call, and this is basically their version of Skype. But what's nice about it is that you don't need a piece of software. They can just dial in over their Chrome web browser, and they're in. It's really cool. So Salmian says, not a fan of the news from home. Yeah, this is not going well, I think, for a lot of stations. It's tough. And they got to deal with a lot of them are using like the local internet connection to get those anchors over to the studio there. So it's this is challenging. And Samian points out correctly that so on the TriCaster TC1, which is a step above the one that I have, they have Skype integrated into the TriCaster in a very similar fashion. So it's good. So Recipe Bob wants to know how much is, I'm assuming, Vmix for a church. So they have a special price point. I think it's like half of what it normally costs. And I don't really want to like go out and just like sell this to you all at the moment. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to sell it, but I will pull up the pricing here so you can see it. And let me just cut to that. Then I got to get moving here because I've got to take the dog out for a nice walk. This is working, which is good. So I know I have this as an option now. I'm probably not going to do it often, but I know it's going to work. Where is the comparison table? Here you go. So you can look and see what you need. $60, you can get a pretty functional device working here. You've got one overlay channel in this version, but I think for a lot of folks, that's really all you need. And an overlay is just like a lower third. And then it does not work with the Vmix Call at that level. But I think for a church, this would be more than fine. The one I'm doing is this 4K one. Not so much for the 4K, but for some of the other features, so I can bring in more callers, for example. You get the SRT, you get more than one SRT outputs. There's a lot of other little things here and there that I think are pretty valuable, so I'm going with that. I was initially going to look at doing just the HD version, but I sometimes bring in more than one caller, and I'm messing around a little bit more with the multiple outputs and that sort of thing. But they've got a good price range, and then you buy it, and then your license is a year. Like you get a year of updates, but the cost to continue getting updated is not significant. So that to me looked like a good deal. So, or a better deal, perhaps, than what I was dealing with before. So, yeah, so that's it. All right, well, cool. I just wanted to try this out, and I wanted, the meter's running on this Amazon server here, so I don't want to run it for too long. Yeah, it's been fun. This is cool. So I'm glad this worked. So this is something just to have in my toolbox here, and I appreciate, I forgot who gave me the tip on the latency, because that seems to have fixed the problem we were having with the switching not looking clean. But it's looking pretty good, I think, and I'll watch the stream afterward. And again, what I'm doing right now is my Vmix setup here is using a protocol called SRT, and it's transmitting video directly in to this Vmix input here. This is SRT right here. And so it just goes right in, and that's what you get. So you're basically streaming to your Amazon server, and then the Amazon server streams it out to YouTube. And that way, if I ever had a glitch, I would freeze, but the stream wouldn't go down. So that's kind of what it's doing here. And then if you find that your Amazon server is having a hard time keeping up with all the things you're doing to it, you just pay for a faster one. So this one's the cheapest that can do it, 71 cents an hour. And then like the next one up, I think, is $1.50 an hour. So not too bad. And yes, Mr. Zika gave the latency tips. I appreciate that. So yeah, this seems to be working. So appreciate everybody tuning in and watching me experiment yet again with another production thing. So thank you all. And I will be back again very shortly because I've got more streaming to do. And not today though. I got to cook dinner in a little bit. I'm going to take the dog out, and yeah, that's it. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and I will be back again soon, and hope you all enjoyed me tinkering around here. Hi, Flood of Sins, and we're actually about to turn off the stream. So hello and goodbye, but thanks again everybody, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.